early 20s. I lived in a bedsit in London. She came all the way from Nigeria to come and see me. She'd been traveling, she was really very tired, and she just sat on my armchair and she fell asleep. And I stood there watching her sleep. I'd not seen my mother sleep for a long time. And I wrote this poem. Then the years passed, she passed away, she died. And then I published this poem. So my mother sleeps means two things. My mother is sleeping on that chair when I was in my 20s, and she's not dead at all. She, for me, is still asleep. My mother is sleeping on my battered armchair. It is night, and I have become a child again. I remember her in my childhood years, sleeping in dark corners where the rats chew the Gary sacks in our hot little room, or on wooden chairs in the green darkness, or on cement platforms near the gutter of the unforgiving street, through the unhappy nights and the suffering years. The remembrance rouses in me dreams of strength and dreams of fear. I watch over her as she gently sleeps. The soft dreams flutter her eyelids. Her quiet breathing and the blessedness of kindly eyes that are shut tight and the parted lips soothe my anxious soul. She is travel weary and has found her son. How patiently she stayed awake all those years, watching over us in our heaving, worrisome sleep of childhood, watching our future come our past. Now that she sleeps in my battered armchair, I know that she dreams well. I am watching over her. My turn has come round at last. Thank you. Oh, there's a podium is materialized. I should use it intermittently. The next poem I'm going to read is, it's always difficult to know what to read. It depends on the mood of the audience. What is your mood tonight, anyway? Do you know what your mood is tonight? Is it a good mood? Yeah? Is it an angry mood? Is it a happy mood? Is it a Kolkata mood? Yes, that's not like it. No, it's not a Kolkata mood. There's one dissenting listener there. This poem is called The World is Rich. And I think I wrote it in response, a kind of poetic response to the first terrorist bombing of London many years ago. They tell me that the world is rich with terror. I say the world is rich with love unfound. It's inside us and all around. Terror is there, no doubt. Violence, hunger, and drought. Rivers that no longer flow to the sea. It's the shadow of humanity. There's terror in the air, and we have put it there. We have made God into an enemy, have made God into a weapon, a poverty, a blindness, an army. But the world is rich with great love unfound. Even in the terror, there is love, twisted round and round. Set it free, river, flow to the sea. Thank you. I'm going to read a very tiny poem. Some school kids from Germany wrote to me and said that they have this campaign to preserve the rhino, and could I write a poem for them? And they did something unusual for poets. They gave me a very specific task. They said, we want you to write a poem, but it has to be a very short poem. It has to be 4 lines long, it has to rhyme, and we have got to be able to understand. There were about 5, 6, 7. So I worked really hard to write this very simple poem, and it's called The Rhino. My horn stands me apart, and I have a passionate heart. My skin is a thick crust. I walk in the wonder of dust. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to write a ridiculously simple poem like that. Sometimes I think it's easier to be complicated than it is to be simple. Here's a poem called The Call, which was written when I was obsessed with the relationship between our eyes and how we hide them, how we mask them. And a friend of mine said it to music. Maybe you'll get the music beside it. It's called The Call. I looked so much I could not see, and in everything I looked at, only saw me. The sky isn't really blue, you know. Leaves of grass are not really green. I want to drink in all the beauty in the world, especially the things not seen. Many of the stars I see are not really there. Waves of light move in a way not entirely clear. I watch the birds till I stop thinking about flight. I gaze at the river till I'm lost in its light. What was I afraid of? Always hiding my eyes. I've got to face my truth and my lies. I've got to stop wanting to be in control. Being at peace is a much better goal. I'm just learning what eyes are for, to see with the heart, to see right to the core. I'm going to read you now a slightly difficult poem. I always divide the reading of my poems into two kinds of poems. I tend to prefer that my readers read my difficult poems themselves, because you have more time, you can come back to it, it's not so confusing. And I tend to read my simpler poems. I say simpler, there's a big gap between simplicity and simplistic. I'm talking about simplicity, which is much more difficult. This is a slightly trickier poem. It's, I went to visit my friend who ran, quite recently at the British Museum, and he did something really wonderful to me. He placed a stone in my hand, and it was one of the oldest human objects that's been used as a tool. It's a stone from the Olduvai Gorge in Africa, and it was 2 million years old. He put this stone in my hand, and when I shut my eyes, these images came to me. So it's called The Crystalline Quartz, Olduvai Gorge, 2 million years ago. If you feel like you can close your eyes too, and maybe the stone will touch you. Fire in the river dream, and fear in the valley. Night and the stone, and hunger in the sky. We carve these stones with the sharp teeth of our dreams. Upright walk the stone makers. War calls in the distance, on the move in the hills. Rocks gush with water and lightning. Night rises from the earth. We sing songs to the wild heavens. The gods listen to us in silence and then heave the earth with fire. We lay down and breathe and cry out the names that are secrets. And then we make with stones the true items of our homes. Our future, grainy as the sky, who can read it save the gods? And they are quiet now. I want you not an easy calm. The next one is called The Difficulty of Seeing. Anyone who knows my work knows how fascinated I am with almost the impossibility of seeing. We have eyes, but we don't use them as well as we should. And what we look at is often what we don't see. So I just wrote this one called The Difficulty of Seeing. It feels odd to look long at a corpse or a leaf. It disturbs one's belief. I found it hard to see my mother's face. The more I looked, the more her face eluded me. I see her perfectly in dreams or when I don't try. Then, long afterwards, I wonder why I suddenly cry. When you go to the seaside, at first you can't look at the sea or the horizon for too long. Then, with time, it's like getting to know a strange song. Whether it be faces, flowers, horizons, something of the real is touched with a haze. Reality resists the gaze. At some point I might try, if I feel strong enough, to read you a love poem. But I want to read one poem that is called Migrations. The Barbican invited some poets to just respond to the idea of migrations. Because immigration is a big issue in England. We're constantly arguing about it, constantly getting worked up about it. Political parties get started because of it, so on and so forth. So I just wrote this poem, Migrations. The world is a cauldron in which we are mixed. Time is an illusion. No condition is fixed. And so, in our millions, we walk or swim or break across boundaries, fleeing wars, evils, and hunger to make a new home in what seems a void, an empty space, without our history or tales of our race. But about us scream the inhabitants who've never known barren lands, or tyranny, or such pain that pushes us from the warren of cruel histories into lands whose earth may not receive us. But we're like pollen. We're fertile, and we grieve. I'm going to read another short poem. It's called I Sing a New Freedom. I have the dubious distinction of being one of the first poets to use the medium of Twitter to write poetry. I don't think I'm frightfully proud of it, but you're stuck with it. And the first poem I wrote in that medium is called I Sing a New Freedom. I sing a new freedom. I hope you hear the echoes of what Whitman did. I sing a new freedom in days of fire. Freedom with discipline. We need freedom to rise higher. Be true to your true self in the rich follies of our times. Become the force you are in this era of economic crimes. Only those who remain free in spirit will find their way out of this maze. But we are children of the stars, and we ought to amaze. Shall I read another twist poem? I didn't hear whether it was a yes or a no, or maybe we're thinking about it, or we'll get back to you when we have your phone number. Oh no, we'll email you or like Facebook. I don't use any of that. Though I'm fascinated by its importance in our lives. This was the second Twitter poem I wrote. You all know how the medium works, one line a day. I didn't cheat and write the whole poem and send it out 1 line a day, I promise you. I literally wrote 1 line, had my publishers send that out, and then the next day I followed the next line. It's an interesting challenge. And this poem is called As Clouds Do Drift. As clouds do drift above our heads, as dreams do flit above our beds, so time sieves through our lives. Where does it go? When it is past, what do we have to show? We can plant deeds in time, as gardeners plant roses or thyme. We can plant thoughts or good words too, especially if they're noble and true. Time is an act of consciousness. To master it, we are called. It is one of the greatest forces of the material world. We ought to use time like emperors of the mind. Do magic things that the future, surprise, will find. We could transform our lives today, seek out a higher way. The Buddha sat beneath a tree and then from all illusion became free. And as we travel this life that is a sea, we can have glimpses of eternity. We can join that growing fight to stop our world being plunged into night. We can wake to the power of our voice, change the world with the power of our choice. But there's nothing we can do if we do not begin to think anew. We're not much more than what we think. In our minds, we swim or sink. If there's one secret I'd like to share, it's that we are what we dream or what we fear. So dream a good dream today and keep it growing in every way. Allow the moments of our life to help us win the good fight or spread some light. The wise say life's a dream, and soon the dream is done. But what you did in the dreaming is all that counts beneath the sun. The dream is real, and the real is a dream. Each one of us is a powerful being. Wake up to what you are. Something of the sun, something of a star. Wake up to what you can be. Search for a higher destiny. While clouds do drift above our heads and dreams do flit above our beds. I think the last poem I'm going to read is I'm after all an African. I'm the true son of my father and my mother. I began with a poem to my mother and father. True African, I will end with a poem to my father. They both passed away. And one thing that we have that I think we share is the necessity of constantly celebrating and evoking the presence of our ancestors. So this last poem is called O Lion, Roam No More, and it's on the death of my father. O Father Lion, roaming in my being, our fathers are not what they seem. Merge into me, help me be free. Multiply my powers beyond the ancestral powers. Bless me with your wisdom, guide me to my kingdom. Be the invisible warrior in my life's upward fight, as I strive for more love and for more light. Do not be angry with your son. Through him, some good battles will be won. Don't fret about the years when we couldn't speak. Forget our mutual tears. There will be joy at life's true peak. So do not fret, O Lion of the Mind. There is much to do for mankind. Lend me your might in the glorious fight. Lend me power in the need of the hour. Send me radiance, majesty, and fire, that I may grow stronger and climb higher. Into my blood plant the secrets of the way, that I may live more wisely every day. Imbue me with your myth, solid, silvery one, that I be attuned to the magic of the sun. O Lion, rage and roam no more in your son's troubled mind. Rest now on that blessed shore where eternal light is most kind. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Ben. That's a session that we're not going to forget in a hurry. And the next part of this evening is going to be a panel discussion. I'll introduce the people who will take you through it. Dr. Kunal Chokar is a cardiac surgeon, an alumnus of St. Xavier's School, Calcutta Medical College, and has received extensive training overseas. Pradeep Gupta, an alumnus of the Martinia Presidency College, studied journalism overseas. He was an editor of the Economic Times and Business Standard and has authored a number of books. Kunal and Pradeep run the Calcutta Debating Circle with Dr. Shonji Chatterjee, and they will take you through the next part of the program. Over to you. Okay. Maybe,
Hello. Good evening, friends, for sparing your time. And first of all, a note of gratitude to the APJ Literary Festival for giving this opportunity to Calcutta Debating Circle to be a part of this wonderful evening. Calcutta Debating Circle arose 5 years ago from the necessity of differentiating between a fight and an argument. And thereafter, I think, we found tremendous resonance among the students, amongst the citizens of the city. And with a little bit of boast in our voices, we, over the past years, have had the likes of debating unions of Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, Karachi, Lahore, Oxford School of Karachi, Dhaka, then University of Toronto, all down in the city, to participate in debating duels with our own students. And so much so, the festival ends with what is arguably India's largest open-air debating, witnessed by an audience of about 3,000 or more. Thereafter, I think we have to, in conjunction, in collaboration with organizations like the Literary Festival, I think we have to take the agenda of sensible reading and sensible speaking further ahead. We discussed this evening on a topic where media discusses social change and wants to explore as to whether there is more bark than bite. Now, in India, over the last few months, we have been very zoologically sensitive to the various species we have discussed at times. It started off from the bovine, occasionally human, and this evening we are provoked to discussing something which is canine. Now, if you consider that human beings have been on the surface of the planet for about 250,000 years, it is also relevant to keep in mind that the canine species have evolved from the fierce fox to the domesticated dog over the period of last 30,000 years. And I think it is our very well endowed panelists from media, from sociology, from other walks of the social domain, who's going to enlighten us today as to where they see the media being positioned today. Being a cardiac surgeon and obviously a doctor and obviously intellectually challenged, I have very few neurons working. Most of them are used for breathing and operating. And hence, since memory is at a premium, the introduction of the panelists, the order of speaking, in which I've had no role to play at all, it was sufficiently very well fixed up by my friend Ruchir even before we got to the scene. So you can quarrel amongst yourselves about the order of speaking, whether you like it or not. And that part will be done by my friend Okri. So before we hand over, we want to wrap up in what will be a very power-packed, very relevant discussion over a period of, say, an hour. It would take 10 minutes on either side. And as important as the main panelists today would be the youngsters, not many of them left in the city, right at this time of our social evolution. But these young boys and girls who will be introduced in due course, they've all come through with very flying colors when we've done our recent intercollegiate and inter-school debating. So the format today is going to be pretty simple, pretty clear. Each of our 5 panelists will give their opening remarks for a period of 4 to 5 minutes. I'm sure there will be neither time or law and order issues. If there are 2 of us on the stage. I think we can adequately handle it. At the end of the 5 minutes of speaking, we will give 2 or 3 minutes if the panelists amongst themselves would have certain very burning issues to resolve on which what you have said or not said. Thereafter, we open the discussion to our discussants, the youngsters in the first row. They have a mic in front of them. They'll walk up, identify, and shoot questions to you. And when I say shoot, it will be that of the non-violent format without necessitating bloodshed. And we need to go through all of this within about an hour. And if we have a bit of time in hand, which I'm sure we will, I think a mic will go around the audience, because I'm sure there will be a lot of questions, a lot of queries, a lot of perspectives that you want to throw up. So I think we are ready to go up on the dais. And as Pradeep takes time to introduce the panel, can I request our panelists to join us on stage? Vir, Saba, Ruchir, Sir, Prerna, can you please go up? Pradeep.
One of the disadvantages of speaking from this stage is that if this whole array of blinding lights shining straight into your eyes, so I can't see any one of you. And if I do fall off the stage, do excuse me. It's part of the overall arrangement. We have 5 panelists today. The first speaker of the evening will be none other than Professor Ashis Nandy, Senior Fellow at the Center for Study of Developing Sciences Societies in New Delhi. Professor Nandy. He is a distinguished political psychologist and a sociologist of science. He received the Fukuoka Asian Culture Prize in 2007 and was chosen one of the top 100 public intellectuals in the world in 2008. Immediately after him, seated on the other side of the stage, we have Prerna Langa, founder of the Yes Foundation, which works towards empowering India through innovative changes and social transformation. She grew up in Bombay, and we were having a lovely conversation about how much she loves our city. Thank you, Prerna, and welcome to our podcast. The third speaker of this evening is none other than Vir Sanghvi, who is only too well known to the Kolkata audience owing to his many talents. A leading journalist, he has worked in both the print and the television media. He was the editor of the Hindustan Times and continues to be a regular columnist. He has anchored numerous shows on Star Network as well as the NDTV network. The fourth speaker, Saba Naqvi, sitting to Vir's left. Saba is a senior journalist and author. He was the political editor of the Outlook magazine and has authored 2 books, Good Faith, A Journey in Search of Unknown India, and Capital Conquest in 2012 and 2015, respectively. The final speaker of this evening is Ruchir Joshi. Ruchir, I can't see you on the stage. I hope you're here somewhere. Okay. No, I'm sure he hasn't escaped. He's trying to build up some hype even before we get started. That's sweet for you. Ruchir is a writer, photographer, filmmaker, provocateur, and widely read columnist for The Telegraph, India Today, and other publications. His first novel, titled The Last Jet Engine Laugh in 2001, was critically acclaimed. There is Ruchir, who, Ruchir, thank you. And you've already been explained the format by Kunal. The speakers go first. So maybe start with Professor Nandy first. Would you, I think the cordless mic would be fine.
What is media and what is social change? Let me start by giving you a survey done in United States in the 1990s. It compared data collected in the 1990s with data collected 50 years earlier. The earliest survey showed that in the United States, 90%, more than 90% of all human exchanges was bifocal or multifocal. They involved more than one person, 2 or more. Less than 10% of the conversation was one way. Like for instance, when you switch on the radio and listen to it, it is one way. When you switch off on the television, it's one way. When you sit, even in exchanging letters on the email, actually your interaction with the computer is one way. The 1990s survey showed that in 50 years, from over 90%, the communication, multivalent communication in the United States have dropped to less than 10%. More than 90% of communications was only with yourself, one way. Even when you go to a grocery shop, Safeways for instance, it is the machine that talks to you when you buy your vegetables and your groceries. And when you pay by card, the machine thanks you in a mechanical voice. That's the situation. 90% to 10% for conversations involving more than one person, and 10% to 90% for conversations which are one way. This change has been brought about by media, mostly by television and information technology. And the result is this, that we have began to live in a world where human relations have thinned, where even violence takes place at a distance. Like when you kill somebody through a drone, sitting in somewhere in the United States, a young man or woman looks at the television map and points the drone on a specific geographical space thousands of miles away in Afghanistan and kills the targeted terrorists. All this is media. Media has also co-opted some of the older institutions we knew. Newspapers are no longer only newspapers, they are media. They are not even fourth estate, they are media. This vast empire of media has everybody under its suzerain. And I'm afraid this dominance, this surveillance, and this power over human relations is going to increase. You are not allowed lonely anymore. You can be alone, but you cannot be alone. But that also means that you cannot have solitude. The future Okris will probably write their poetry on computers, laptops, and be quite happy. That feel of reading out poetry the way he read it today will be primarily through media again. He will have to imagine his audience and speak at a camera. That's the way things are going. In this world of the media, it is obsolete and unmannerly and ill-healthy to be unhappy, because the world of media and virtual reality has specified that all normal people are permanently happy. And in that permanent happiness, they feel parts of it can be vended or retailed the way it is being vended and retailed at the moment by media. Media is now the model for life. Life is secondary. Now, do media change social change? The question is superfluous, because media does not distinguish between the social reality and the subjective reality of the virtual world. Media's social change is the social change. What your personal experience tells you is secondary and trivial. We can only quote somebody like Aga Shahid Ali, who is also a poet, that my memory stands against your history. You cannot forgive me. I am against, if I remember it correctly, I am against everything you stand for. You cannot forgive me. I live with this love, with words. I let others continue.
Sir, thank you very much. I think that was a very biting, a very piercing opening to the limitations of media in terms of its sort of monologous contact with people, its limitations in presumptions of a permanent state of euphoria in society and the rest of it. And taking the cue up from Professor Nandy would be Prerna, is that right?
Hello, good evening. It's wonderful, first of all, to be here. I think this is the most beautiful venue that I have ever spoken at. And Kolkata is my favorite city. So diving straight into the topic, in fact, I strongly believe in the power of media. And like anything else, it has its pros and cons. But it's up to us to leverage it to the fullest. In fact, I work at Yes Foundation, the social development arm of Yes Bank. And we believe so much in the power of media that we started our own program leveraging media. We also strongly believe in the power of the youth of India, and hence what we did is we realized with the youth, you can't really tell them, go and volunteer with a particular social issue or, sermonize to them. It has to be a challenge. So using media, we initiated a social filmmaking challenge, wherein on India's Independence Day at 6 o'clock in the morning, you would get a surprise topic on a social cause, and you would have 101 hours to make a film. The emphasis is not so much about the film, but what happens when you're making the film, when you meet, everyday heroes, when you come in touch with social issues. And while we started this with this whole thing about that stories can change the world, we were quite surprised in year one that we had 2,200 participants. In year two, we had 50,000 participants. And this year, we had over 5 lakh participants, making us the largest film movement in the world. But it's not so much about the numbers, but more about the social transformation that took place. So using media itself, the examples were like thousands of stories of how youth, their lives have transformed, and they in turn have used media towards nation building. Right from one of our participants, Kuljeet, who made a film on animals, and he was not a great animal lover or anything like that, but he was so shocked about the plight of animals in Delhi. He was surprised to see that during Diwali there were actually animals where victims of crackers, where they tied crackers and lying burnt in the street, etc. So along with his IT job, he has started a portal called Samarpan, and he has also started a web app where, based on animal emergencies, currently in just 8 months, he has 1,200 youth who are actively involved in animal rescue. And we believe that's the power of media. And right here from Kolkata, one of our participants, Leena Kejriwal, many of you would have seen her campaign of missing girls. How many of you have seen it? Okay, wonderful. So Leena was a participant in 2014, and she was passionately, she felt very passionately about this cause of, female trafficking, child trafficking. And being an artist, she was looking to do an exhibition and was wondering how do I raise funds, etc. for that. And when she saw what the youth of the country are doing, that irrespective of any barriers or irrespective of money or anything, they're coming out and using their films for social change. She said, "Let me start with what I have." And she started the Missing campaign, and I need not say more because all of you all are aware of it. And not only did it originate from Kolkata, but now it's all across India, right from Delhi and Chennai and Mumbai and name it. And the campaign has just become a movement with so many people from across the world joining her campaign. And she has used her film and used the power of crowdfunding to initially she collected some 16 lakhs to start the campaign. So that is the power of media. And like I said, there are pros and cons to anything. And, if you have to talk about technology too, we would say, oh, it's really, people are not talking to each other. They're more involved in social media, etc. But I feel it's about leveraging it and about setting examples ourselves of how to use it well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Prerna. The theme we're discussing this evening is, just to remind you, media and social change, more bark than bite. And the third speaker will be none other than Vir Sanghvi, who so tellingly told my former colleague Kanika Datta sometime late last year that he's moving away from traditional media and exploring new avenues. So we're looking forward to your comments.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I am actually going to diss the panel by turning my back on them. On the other hand, I am going to respect you by standing before you and talking to you. I think it's probably easier than sitting in a chair and droning on, so, which is what I tend to do, alas. Okay, the subject is the media. Can it affect social change? More bark than bite, etc. etc. It's one of the great things about coming back to Calcutta is that not only is it so gorgeous, we can discuss subjects, still have debaters, you still have people wanting to ask questions. When you introduce people, this is probably the only city, I think, in the world, where when you introduce grown men, you tell us which college they went to, whether they studied overseas. And in a sense, I find that very charming. I find that very much the essence of Calcutta, that all these things continue to matter. So yeah, it's nice to be in Calcutta. It's nice to be, who wouldn't want to be in this wonderful venue? Now, I've been told that we're really the warm-up act. After this, the young debaters are going to shoot questions, non-violently, I gather, at us, and that's going to be the main event. So I will keep this short. When you say, can the media affect social change, you can interpret it in the sort of obvious way. If I make yet another television program, will anyone care? If Saba does one more piece of brilliant analysis, which she's often done, will it make a difference to the world? If Ruchir writes a good book, which he will one day, I'm sure, would it make a difference to the world? Well, the short answer is no. Nobody really cares what we do. What I think changes the world more significantly than anything any of us can do is ideas. Think about it. What is religion? It's an idea. What is Christianity? It's an idea. What is Islam? It's an idea. These ideas were conveyed to people through books. The Gutenberg Bible, which was only invented, the Quran, copies of which were passed around, which then ruined popularity again when they could print them. Religion is an idea, it changes the world. Books of political philosophy and economics are ideas, they change the world. Karl Marx wrote Capital, it changed the world. More recently, John Maynard Keynes wrote his theory, and that changed the world because it laid the foundations of the welfare state. So I think we attach too much importance in some ways to journalists, to TV presenters, to people like us. We count for very, very little. The word media, as you know, is and should be the plural of media. So if ideas are communicated effectively through many mediums, or more correctly media, yes, they have the power to change the world. The media's role in that is very secondary. However, there is one way in which the media do contribute, I think, effectively to social change, to the way society is organized. I don't know if there are very many people here who are my age and Ashis, but if there are, they may have heard of a guy called Marshall McLuhan, who was quite trendy and popular in the 1960s. He had a catchphrase called, "The medium is the message," which was very much the thing to say in the 1960s. Sadly, I think McLuhan has been forgotten. And even that slogan, "The medium is the message," is sort of forgotten. It's become, "The medium is the massage," which is probably an ad for Thai tourism or something. But it's not something that means a lot to the. But oddly enough, as we go forward in time, McLuhan was right. The medium is the message in many, many ways. If you look at the way society has changed, look at let's take obvious examples. Look at television. Television has changed the way in which we look at the world. The obvious television, which has made globalization so much easier. But what we don't understand is that television affects the way in which we see people. Take someone like Winston Churchill, not very popular in India, things he said about Indians, but regarded in the UK as a great hero. If television had been around in Churchill's time, if you've seen footage of his speeches, you will know what I mean. He comes across a very dangerous demagogue. Take Mahatma Gandhi, founder of our nation. I don't know how many of you have seen actual footage of how Gandhi spoke rather than how Ben Kingsley spoke in the movie. He had none of the sort of TV-friendly qualities. His Hindi, in those days, there were people, Gujaratis were like Ruchir Joshi and myself, we didn't speak very good Hindi. We weren't like Narendra Modi. Gandhiji's Hindi was not very good. I'm not sure he would have managed to communicate in quite the same way. If you've heard the recording of that famous Tryst with Destiny speech, at the stroke of the midnight hour when the world sleeps, India will awake, etc., you will know that Jawaharlal Nehru actually had a very reedy, thin voice. Doesn't matter, it didn't matter then. But I think it matters now. If you watch the Republican debates, if you watch the Democratic debates for the US presidential election, you will know that people judge candidates by how they speak, by how they look. And as India advances, as politics becomes more and more television focused, these things have started to matter in India. The Modi campaign, the most expensive campaign in Indian history, was all about the media. Where Modi could not travel, they sent a 3D hologram. And so good was the hologram, or so bad was Modi, that nobody could tell the difference. That tells you something about the manner in which the medium is changing. Look at social media. It's hard to deny that Facebook has changed the way in which people interact with each other. Look at Twitter. Ben spoke about the poem he'd written on Twitter. He honestly said, one line at a time. Many of us, when we were waiting for this to start, I noticed were on Twitter. It affects the way in which we interact with each other. And more importantly, it democratizes, it changes the way in which it gives us a more level playing field for people to express opinions. You don't just listen to people at the top, you communicate with them in a more equal way. So in that sense, yes, the medium is the message. In terms of you, Ruchir, Saba, myself, even Ashis, great intellectuals, saying things and changing the way in which society works, no, I don't think that happens. Karl Marx could do it, John Maynard Keynes could do it, Jesus Christ could do it. We unfortunately are lesser mortals. So I'm going to welcome questions on this, but my position is clear. The medium is the message. The way in which we communicate shapes the way in which we interact and therefore shapes society. So yes, ideas are important, and to the extent that the media can convey great ideas are important. Otherwise, the rest of us, we're pretty much a waste of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the first social change that we can usher in the very near future is there are a lot of sub-panel discussions happening at the back. And unfortunately, many of you have kind of volunteer or even badges on. I think it's a mark of disrespect to the speakers to have such a lot of free-flowing sub-discussions at the back. Can I please ask you to come up, sit down, and, because the traffic during a panel discussion is supposed to be entirely verbal, right? So can I please ask you to take your seats? It's a mark of tremendous disrespect to people who take all this effort to come for a discussion, to have both intellectual and physical loitering inside the campus. Please settle down. Thank you very much. So Vir gave a very elegant disposition of an idea which is to be communicated, and he's emphasized on television. What bothers me about television is to make television discussions very heated. People are introducing kind of virtual or physical heat on the screen nowadays. And most of the participants seems to be heated from below. So I was proposing that, when you people speak on these rather vociferous discussions, do you carry a tube of burn ointment along with yourself? because at an end of an hour with so much of heat coming to the sort of rear end of various intellectual participants, you turn to get third-degree burns right now. Anyway, now we take the burning panel discussion a step further, and we ask Saba to give her views on media and change.
You know that as a panelist on those heated discussions where you think I'm going with burn all, but I'm not going to address that. And on the most heated channel, I suspect that even I survive it and we all survive it, I flourish and it's fine. But I'm not going to go there right now because, the subject of your debate is media and social change. So the way I read it, you're asking whether media brings about social change. Then you say, is it just bark, which is worse than the bite? So then you're saying, is it just Arnab Goswami or is he achieving anything? I mean, I'm a bit confused here. So, but anyway. But broadly, I'd like to, as a working journalist for a long time, I'll just make a few points, what I think has happened with the media. I think the media is abused far too much. There is far too much criticism of the media. There are, in fact, today, the whole world order of the media that you think is chaotic, insulting, and troublesome, but this kind of anarchy also makes it impossible to curtail certain kind of news. I'm just explaining the process that I've witnessed in my lifetime. I'm abused every day. I mean, you open my Twitter account, you'll find 1,000 abuses against me. So I don't take it personally beyond the point. I used to. I got used to it. They are misogynistic, it's communal, it's at various levels I get it, So, I mean, my problems are compounded and then I'm a political commentator on top of that. So I'm used to that. But I think there's a certain, people just take to sort of bashing up the media, and I'm talking print, television, everything. I'm a print journalist, I do a lot of television as a commentator. But I think some of it is a bit unfair. And I think if you're talking about social change, there was a time when I worked where it was almost impossible to get stories which the editor thought were boring, not sexy enough, dull. And I'm talking about Outlook magazine, which is supposed to be this meaningful publication. The great legendary Vinod Mehta used to throw out stuff. He said he wouldn't hear an idea which had too much meaning and depth behind it. I mean, that's the way journalism is. Today, because of internet forums, so a lot of those stories get done. So there are these images which are built up. He wanted things which were chatpata, which can have meaning, but they should not be boring. That was the bottom line as far as he was concerned. So media has its own compulsions. Even when you watch television channels, okay, they're all having these heated debates. And but you notice many of them have to run campaigns, be it about environment, be it about EIP culture, be it about road safety. They're backing it up with certain kind of campaigns. And again, there's a certain anarchy that comes in. Media is also very selective. They also look for stories which can heat up a room quickly. In television, I completely know this. I used to be furious, and because the easiest debate to generate is you put a Muslim idiot and you put a Hindu idiot and you get them to abuse each other. We all know that. But I mean, we look, I don't think that we should think that that is the beginning and the end of that the media is so despicable. The media does some outstanding work out there. I think in media, what we journalists have as a problem is writers want the quick way out and they're not willing to invest in reporting. So even your news channel is the cheapest form of journalism, is to have 5 people have a fight, have some recognized people and get them to talk, because ultimately nobody is investing in the news report. It's happening across the media, in print, in but what has happened is that there are also, I think many journalists also began their lives as want to be writers or social reformers. They had a lot of journalists carry that idealism. And what people do is that they now find the web spaces. So those who have pressing, important stories to tell, some of them are very young, they are getting the support and they're putting those stories out there in the web. And there is a whole system of journalists trying to independently support that. And even your mainstream political stories, be it, let's look at the Anna Hazare movement. The reason it got so much coverage, out of which came Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, was because it happened in Delhi. You can do great social engagement all over the country. The channels just had to go there and put non 24-hour coverage. And so it got covered and so it became a phenomenon. And you know, one thing led to the other. But there was media, the consequences of all of that, or the outcome of all of that was political. So today, you know, nothing happens without, so let's not trash media, let's not trivialize media, let's understand the constraints of media. And also that, yes, I mean, we all wish that there would be, people complain about those debates, don't watch them. I mean, you don't have to watch them. You can go and watch BBC or CNN or move to Rajya Sabha TV. You don't have to take that as a statement on the country, you know, because that's you don't. I'm not excusing everything that happens, and I think a lot of the debates do play into subliminal prejudices that people they are stoked with prejudices that society has. They don't create them. They are playing on those emotions. They walk on those fault lines. They do all that. But if somebody gets so upset with it, I mean, really, just switch the channel. I mean, I know it sounds superficial. I'm not going to be profoundly anxious about such matters, but you know, broadly, I'll say this, and then I'm just going to stop at that later.
Saba, I think your suggestion for switching off the channel has been well taken by the country at large, because I think at this peak viewing, the entire combined news channel exposure of India stands at somewhere around 0.6% of the population. So I think 94.4% of the population are rather wise. They have switched off their channels, either because of the content or format or both. Thank you very much. Ruchir.
Hello. Is that working? So I'll learn from Vir and stand up, but I'll also not turn my back on the August panel, so to speak. Well, most of it's been covered, which was my intention in fixing myself to be last. However, just to take and borrow magpie from what everyone has said, one thought while this was all going on is that we do live, history is at various levels cyclical. So while what Ashis said about McLuhan and the medium is the message, the medium is the message, and the whole business of one-to-one communication and multifarious communication, that's changed and shifted. I suddenly remembered that Vir and I go back talking about which college and which school. We both went to the same unfortunate public school. Vir was 4 years senior to me, and he came back as a famous student from England and tried to manipulate different politics in the school somewhat to my advantage, because he took to me and a couple of other people. We failed. But I understood what politicking meant from Vir. He was 17, I was 14, I think. So since then, I suddenly remembered that I met Vir again when I passed out of that school, and he was working in Imprint in Bombay, which was a very small office with not hand printing, but very, very crude printing press stuff. Then I came back from America and I did join the Telegraph, but I began working when it had just started. And one of the best things about the Telegraph is, unlike the Statesman, it used photographs really well. And I worked there as a freelancer. And looking at that point, from those newspapers, which were English newspapers, broadsheets, and a small, sort of, with limited coverage in Eastern India, we used to think it was the whole world. Get your piece published there, or do an interview with some writer or something. From that point, we moved, and television at that point was one channel, 2 channels. We got Prerna Langa, then whole stuff bursting open around 1991. Then Babri happens, we see it on TV. Various things happen. 9/11 happens. I think that we are living in very, very interesting times. I think we have one of the worst media clusters in the world in India, yet at the same time, I'm really happy to be living in India and not in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, or Sri Lanka. We have a freer press, we have a freer TV. We can abuse our own press people, and our press people can abuse the politicians to a great extent, yes. corporate people will always try and control and manipulate the media, so we have to be vigilant about that. But go after them also up to a certain point and more. Definition of media, yes, 94% of the country may not be looking at English news or Barkha or Read or when we are on TV shouting, and certainly hopefully they're not looking at Arnab, Black, and we should all switch off when he speaks. But that has happened is the mobile phone. Every village, every small town, every class section has one of these things. They may not all be smartphones, but they're getting more and more smartphones. That in itself has become a very, very interesting, powerful media. The phone call, the photograph, the video can be misused. You know, someone is being beaten up and killed, you photograph them. A woman is being raped or abused, you photograph that, you film that and not send it out. Abusers are there. But at the same time, I'm actually convinced are undergone a fascist takeover in this state and in this country, because there are various things that the government and the media barons and the establishment cannot control. Part of it is Facebook, part of it is Twitter, part of it is mobile phone, along with all the other old suspect medias that we have. And that's something I think is to be thankful for. I agree televisuality is very important, you know, that someone like we would win an election over me anytime. But now I think we've reached a point where I hope that the Narendra Modis and very differently the Arnab Goswamis have reached their peak period. Social media can also create heroes out of nerds or people with thin, reedy voices, people who don't speak very well, but again communicate in that one-to-one way that Ashis was talking about. You see their face on your phone rather than on a big TV screen in a group, and something gets through to you. So all kinds of revolutions, I'm optimistic, are in the offing. We have to be vigilant, critical. Don't believe anything anyone tells you. Check it out. Again, when you read an article, if it's a Chatpata article, fine, but you have links now, hyperlinks, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into any issue that you want. You have the luxury, you have the time with the internet. I think it's a messy, muddy, chaotic market of ideas right now. And I think rather than be scared of it, I think we have to grasp it. Be fully aware that it's very dangerous out there, but at the same time, it's very exciting. And so because of the beginning of the new year, one must be optimistic. I'm going to leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchir. Well, we've had the first round of comments and speeches. We've heard, yes, Professor Ashis Nandy mentioning about social reality versus virtual reality, followed by Prerna, who spoke about stories that could change the world. And then there was Vir, who highlighted the fact that message is the medium is the message is a slogan that works perhaps even today. And then Saba, who's best known for her excellent relationship with people like Lalu Prasad Yadav. I love reading your pieces. I love your relationship with Lalu. So anyway, she spoke about, you know, putting two idiots up on stage and how that generates heat in the stage. And finally, Ruchir, who claimed he was speaking on everybody's speech, but actually delivered a very original set of thoughts, highlighting how media helps keep fascism at bay. Now, before we let the panelists cross-question each other, I think I'll be feeling in my duty if I did not introduce our young friends who are here. And we are very happy to present to you the champion debaters from the schools and colleges and universities of Kolkata, whom we have seen and selected and mentored over the last year at the Calcutta Debating Circle. And may I request you to stand up when I announce your name. Sharan Banerjee from Presidency University, Sharan studies economics. Shomo Gangupathy from Scottish Church College, who won the recent debate at the St. Xavier's College. Dipanjana Roy from Loreto College. Sharumi Goswami from Jadavpur University. Roshni Chakrabarti from La Martinia for Girls. And Joybir Dattagupta from the La Martinia for Boys. Now, while our young friends frame their questions, the floor is open to members of the panel if you wish to comment on whatever anybody said. Professor Nandy, you spoke first, so you could, you're in best place situation to ask questions if you want to question the others.
Probably I should pass it at this point of time.
Right? Students, are you ready? Kindly identify yourself, use the stand mic that's provided on the lawn, and your question should be shorter than the speech that provoked it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sharani Goswami, formerly from Lamakne, now from Jadavpur University. And good evening. I'm Sharani Goswami. I'm from Jadavpur University, and given past CDC events, I've landed up with a reputation of asking too many questions. But that apart, what crossed my mind today, especially, is firstly to ma'am, Ms. Saba. Firstly, the fact that the question is not whether we can switch a channel that all of us can, whether we are switching to other news or we are switching to entertainment is not the point. The point is whether the media today is actually giving us content, is actually giving us news which we wish to hear. All of us are capable of switching the television off if we don't like it. But the question is, as the youth, whether there is actually something inspiring or thought-provoking enough, which goes beyond the bark, which goes beyond the ramble and the sound, for us to actually take something.
The point is taken.
Should I reply?
Yes, please.
You know, there is so many different kind of media today that you can't expect everybody to be high standard and sort of related, and giving you sort of some national vision. You really can't expect that. Media is also a commercial enterprise. Media is both, in fact, actually, frankly, media often does not make money, but it's also an influence. Media gives proprietors influence. So you've got to understand the business model. Media is not there to give some, it's there to cover news and to debate it. It's imperfect. I'm not saying that. But the role of the media is really not to give some kind of like thinking and all that. And in any case, there are beyond the conventional television and the conventional mainstream papers. Now you have so many web spaces that you can find exactly what you want, what you aspire to. But you should not keep expecting everyone else to be like that. They're not going to be. You know, that's what I'd say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Shomo Shekhar Gangopathy from Scottish Church. My question is...
I think Shomo, you have an altitude problem there.
Thank you. I guess that's better. My question is mainly to ma'am, as well as the other panelists might take it. When you talk about freedom of the internet media, which also Mr. Ruchir spoke about, well, you see, internet itself is not entirely a free media. It is also controlled. And as you would know, especially being from Bengal, posting something on the internet might actually lead you to the jail, if not anywhere better or worse. And also, you are really lucky to stay in Calcutta when you say that internet is a free place to speak your mind, because had you been in Pakistan or Bangladesh, you would probably be stoned to death for writing liberal blogs. So the question is, how do you say that a medium which is so controlled, controlled by corporate enterprises, as Mark Zuckerberg would never allow you to speak against free basics on Facebook, because he's the person channelizing it, or you talk about political freedom, which the politicians would not allow by A, either banning Facebook in countries such as China, or B, by controlling or moral policing content that you post, whether it be about Balasaheb Thackeray or about the Chief Minister. So how do you say that it's actually a free form of media? Thank you.
You know.
Hi. I didn't say that the internet was free or a utopian space. I just said, compared to when, say, Vir Saba and I started working, and certainly I won't even include Ashis in this because he actually witnessed a very different era. I'm just saying that the internet is a controlled space, but it's hard to really control it properly. And there are several leaks, gaps, windows, patli gullies that are open, which people can and do exploit, even in China, even in Pakistan. Hello, sorry. The media interfered there. So I'm saying yes, China, it's difficult, people do proxy servers. Bangladesh, the bloggers who got killed, yes, it's very tragic, but there are many other bloggers who are writing from abroad, from within, with hidden identities. People are speaking out. Pakistan again and other places, China, North Korea. You know, I'm not saying it's ideal or perfect, it's just great in a sort of some kind of a ditzy way. I'm just saying the new media and the different kinds of interfaces we have, computer, television, mobile phone, even the fact that some cities like Delhi is now connected with the new metro, which has caused a huge social change in Delhi. That's another kind of transport, is another kind of media, really, right? All these things interlock with each other and create a space which is far freer than anything that we've had as humanity, anything that humanity has had in the past. And we should just take that opportunity while being very aware of the pitfalls and the traps.
No, I just wanted to, I'm a bit confused when you say this, you're talking about people making Facebook and being arrested as happened in Maharashtra. Politically critical now and Bengal. Okay, right. Yeah, but I think those incidents, that's the beauty of the media. Probably it gets so much coverage and then there'll be such an outrage over it that we'll all get to find out that this has happened. And in the case of Maharashtra, I actually know a young girl who filed a PIL in the Supreme Court, and the law has been amended because of the Facebook post and what happened to those young girls who posted about the city being shut during Bal Thakere's funeral. And the Supreme Court has amended the law. So that's also the media covered it, and unconventional and conventional media. So, you know, nothing is black and white, I'd say.
I want to respond to two questions which I have arisen. One, a young student said that the individual still has a choice. If he doesn't like a channel, he can switch the channels. But switching a channel, it means still within the channel. You don't get out of the channels. The Surgeon General of the United States has specified that for health reasons, you should not see television for more than 45 minutes. The average hours of listening in the United States is said to be within 6 and 8 hours. So there you are. That's so much for individual choice. Two, it has been suggested that we are living, at least as far as South Asia is concerned, in the best of all possible countries. Maybe we are. But may I point out that in Pakistan, over the last 60 years, 4 army regimes have been brought down, more or less bloodless, and that's a Guinness Book record. I don't think this can happen in India, because you would have previously written angry letters to the editor, and now you will write angry blogs. So there is that part of the story also. The relationship between reality and virtual reality is dim. We have come to distrust our experience. We don't feel ill unless we see on the television or on the internet what are the symptoms we are suffering from, even if it's a matter of cold and cough. That is the way things go. And I do believe that human experience, human personality, if I may say so, is shaped in relationship with other human beings, in relationship with nature, in relationship with the non-human living world. And I do believe that that relationship is being eroded increasingly in a very well-designed fashion by the world of media. That's that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sharon Banerjee. I'm from Presidency University, Calcutta. This has been a very overarching trend among the 5 speakers that they've tried to address media in terms of social change, and a few tried to address it in terms of an organization or an agent which has certain commercial priorities. So when we're looking at these certain entities with commercial priorities, we're looking now increasingly across the world, and especially in India, where media organizations are tying up with Twitter and Facebook and creating these sort of campaigns while the debates are going on across the television screens. Do you think that when you are compelling a country or you are compelling your audiences to just be a part of the discourse through one tweet or one Facebook comment, their empathy to a certain situation is only being restricted to that one tweet or one comment, which is actually creating more barks, more TRPs, and more ratings, rather than actually a social bite on these various issues that we need in our country? What would you have to say on that?
Okay, first of all, I think you've misunderstood what everyone is saying. Nobody is saying that Facebook and everything is not commercially controlled. The point we are making is that in the days of old media, there were a few media organizations that worked purely on commercial considerations. You could suppress them quite easily by, say, cutting off in the old days their newsprint. When the emergency was declared, Indira Gandhi's men went out and cut the power supply lines to Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg, which is where all the newspapers of Delhi were supposed to be headquartered. The thing to remember about all dictators is that they're basically idiots. They did not realize that there were newspapers outside of Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg. So the Hindustan Times came out, the Statesman came out. But even so, it was possible during that period to put pressure on proprietors. It's more difficult now, I think, the one that Saba Ruchir have made, because A, mediation is more widely dispersed. 2, the old system in which there was just print, radio, newspapers, all television channels, all owned by a few people, and those were the only means of expression, is dead. There is, as Ruchir has been trying to say again and again, various ways of getting your message across through social media, through the internet. It is nobody's case that this is perfect, or that if you post an internet cartoon that offends your chief minister, you will not be arrested. But the point is, you would have been arrested if you'd done a poster with that, if you'd written it in a magazine, if you'd written it in newspapers. So some things will take time to change. But as Ruchir has correctly pointed out, it's almost impossible to suppress the internet. If it was, WikiLeaks would have gone out of business after the first article. Yeah? Nobody would know what Snowden wanted to say. If the United States, the world's greatest superpower, cannot control the internet, nobody can. Yes, you can crack down maybe on one organization, maybe you can arrest Julian Assange, but somebody will find a way. That's the nature of the medium. If you're saying people are restricted to one, as you said, that one tweet and they do that for TRPs, there are no TRPs for tweets. The point everyone is making that in the old days, when you had commercial interests who controlled the media, and look, as Saba has pointed out, for TRPs, for ratings, so that they could make money are over. People who tweet don't tweet to make money. People who do blogs don't blog to do money. I'm a great opponent of free basics. But even assuming that Mark Zuckerberg gets his way, and assuming that free basics does happen, what will it do? It will give free internet access to many poor people, but will restrict the speed at which you can access other sites. Now, I believe that's wrong. I believe in net neutrality. But even if it does happen, in no way does it diminish free speech or censor. Yeah, that's the point.
Good evening, I'm Roshni Chakraborty from the Martin of a Girls' School. My question is to Mr. Vir Sanghvi, and this is regarding the point that you made about the idea being more important than the medium. So you said that the idea is more important than the way in which it is propagated. Now, sir, I disagree with you completely on this, and I'll support this with an example. The ISIS, every single day, they're releasing videos. They're reaching millions of people across the globe, and it's basically a way of spreading propaganda. It's ideological subversion. So do you mean to say that it's because of ISIS's great ideology and their great philosophy of beheading people and creating child soldiers that people are being attracted to the ISIS, or rather because of the fact that the ISIS is reaching billions across the world using mass media, that those comparatively fewer thousands are going to them?
Yeah, I'll answer that. The examples I gave you were of Keynes and the general theory, of Karl Marx and capital, of the Bible, and how Christianity spread much more once Gutenberg invented the printing press. I said that the medium is very important when it comes to disseminating the idea. The easier it is to disseminate the idea, the more the idea gets across to people. So yes, the medium is very important. But I also said, and I think that's the point you missed, without the idea, the medium is nothing. Yeah? Is that clear?
You have a living one. I think the point about ISIS is also an idea. And that is the propagating idea of your Shia-Sunni chasm, which is happening all across, which is adequately sponsored by the wealthy sponsors in Saudi Arabia, which is fueled by the Western nations. So it is the maker of the Frankensteins which are wielding against the onslaught at the moment. So ISIS is very much an idea which is very well marketed at the same time. So ISIS is an idea. That idea may seem weird to you and me, but it is an idea. Right, next question. Fair enough. I think after Deepanjana, we probably have time for one more question. So, Joybir, yes. So you are in the queue.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Deepanjana from Loreto College. My question is open to all the panelists. One of the speakers tonight said that previously in print media, you could not publish meaningful articles. Now, even today, on television, you cannot have meaningful conversations because the anchor keeps interrupting you. So my question is, the same constraints remain, right? Because a sensationalist blog will get more views, a sensationalist Facebook post will get more likes. So the constraints remain. The ideas are still hampered by the constraints that are put. So has media been able to overcome these constraints in any way possible?
Who do you want to answer this?
Anybody.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. You're the first person we could hear properly. You have a great voice. Secondly, a valid point, but I think you slightly misrepresented what Saba said. What Saba said was that when she worked at Outlook, whenever she came up with a meaningful idea, if it didn't have any kind of sensational or, I won't use any worse words, value, Vinod Mehta, editor at the time, would not publish it. That's a comment on a specific newspaper or a specific publication and a specific editor. I don't think it was ever her intention to say that no meaningful ideas ever appeared in print. On television, yes, I agree with you. Television is essentially a superficial medium. Television in India does not borrow from the BBC or CNN. It borrows from the WWF. It's basically just a gladiatorial entertainment with matches, many of them fixed. Yeah, there I agree with you. But remember that not every channel is the same. When you think of something interesting, you want to say, call me. I'll be very happy to have you on my show. I will not interrupt you, no matter what you have to say. There are people out there who are willing to listen, who are willing to give space to ideas. But also remember that by definition, great ideas are usually lost in television. Anything with depth usually appears in print. Television can be, and especially in India where it's all about tamasha, it's become a very, very superficial medium. But not all of us are that bad. That's the only thing I'll say in my defense. 11, yeah.